Hey Harry, it's Coach Benlin here. Just breaking down some of your swings from the last couple of sessions. I put my notes into a document like the last time, and I could send it over to you as well. I just want to work through a couple of things I want to continue to monitor, and then go over some new points of emphasis as well. We'll look at a couple of the swing loops that we have from the last couple sessions, and a couple videos that I think could help us visualize some of the stuff we're talking about. So, things we're continuing to monitor. We're talking about the hover and hit load, right? Not being robotic, up and down. We talked about in the last video, maintaining balance and being ready to hit, right? Not just being up, down, back to forward, and then, as velocities change, we see off-speed pitches. We won't have our timing down. So I'm gonna go further in detail on that in a second. But just making sure we're loading in the right places, having that back knee inside the back foot in our load, with a little bend in the back knee as well. We talked about the jump back drill in the last session. That I think is really going to help you going forward. So we can review that next time we get together. Um, I'm very big with the hands back in the load with you, making sure we're stretching and pulling that rubber band back all the way in our load, getting into that launch position and avoiding any drift with our hands coming forward as we track or avoiding any drop. Um, Leading with the knob, making sure we're pulling the knob inside in front of the baseball, thinking knob versus barrel, extending through contact, big up and out finish, and using the whole field, your approach stuff. And I'll go back into that in a second. Having a right center field gap, not being pull happy. So let's look at a couple of the clips here and we'll kind of take it from there. And then we'll go over the new stuff. So I've been looking at a couple from the last 2 or 3 sessions here. And a couple things caught my eye, and I kind of wanted to show you so that next time we work together, you can, we could start from here for what we're talking about tonight. So let's start with this one here. Okay, so let's break down some of these swings right here. All right, pre-pitch stuff. Here we go. Hands are coming back. You're tracking the pitch in. Front leg's coming up, lead leg is coming up. Hands are back in a pretty good position right there. Right there's pretty good, right? Let me walk through a couple things that are catching my eye right here. Coming through the ball, little lift to the ball coming off the bat. Yeah, a little lofty, and the finish. So the first thing that's really jumping out at me is if we can see this swing from the start here. You see how we're standing pretty much upright? That's okay to start. I've talked about starting an athletic stance, but you don't really have to. But what we have to make sure that we're doing is as we load, do you see how right here? Look at this. You're pretty much standing upright. And let me draw on the screen for a second here. So when I talk about, bend in the back knee, making sure that we're, staying athletic, do you see how we're kind of straight up and standing upright in a straight line here? Right? There's not a lot of energy and power being generated in our load. So the first thing we kind of want to take a look at here is where are we going to load? In what places, right? So when we talk about back knee inside the back foot, what I mean by that is, I know we talked about this in the last session, you want to have pressure on the inside of this foot right here, okay? You also want to have pressure inside this back knee and then generate inside this back hip here. Now, in order to do that, you're going to have a little bend in this back knee, right? If I told you to launch forward, right, to get in this position right here where your front side's up, you're balancing over your back side, your rear leg, right? And I told you to push off that back leg and launch forward, right? Let's say how many feet or how many yards could you launch forward? If you're upright with no bend in the back knee, you're not going to get a lot of action there, right? You're not going to get a lot of distance. If you're bending and you want to leap forward, you're going to get down almost in like a crouch, bend that knee, push off, and leap forward. And we have to think of that in our load, right? We want to make sure that the pressure is inside this back knee, inside this back foot, and then ready to launch forward in this direction here. Okay, think of it as coming this way with our rear side, right? Our back side here, right? Now this front leg is going to block all of this off here, so you're not drifting forward. We want to think of generating there and launching forward. So when we say loading in the right places, inside of that back foot, inside of that back knee, in that back hip, and if you're doing it correctly, and you can practice this, doing doing loads in the mirror. You don't have to worry about, being at a clinic. If you're feeling this correctly, you'll feel it straight in this quad right here. You'll feel all the pressure building there. The jump back drill would really help that. All right, let me clear the screen. But in order to generate power, we got to work on loading in the right places. Okay. Moving forward here. Next thing that's catching my eye is, do you see how this front foot, the way it comes up? It's kind of like you're lifting it just to lift it. Watch. Front foot comes off the ground, kind of just goes straight up, straight down for the most part. Not a lot going on. Now, there are good things here because you are locked on that front leg, right? We call it firm front side, firm lead leg, which is great because it's blocking off your momentum going forward. I would love, and it's not a big deal here, but I'm going to mention in a second, getting into like an A position. So if you're lifting here, I would love to see that when you do have that back knee bend, you're going to come land in kind of this position here. So it forms an A. If you're really generating this backside and you're in here and this knee is inside this foot and you're loading up on that backside, this front leg, this lead leg should come down almost in this direction here, right? Almost forming like that A shape here. And really being explosive where your upper body can then react, right? Then you go hips and hands. So as the front foot lands this way almost down here, right? Building in, pinching this knee. Let me clear and show what I mean. Pinching this knee in a little bit rather than just lifting it up. So right now, and I'll go back and play it again real quick. See how you're just lifting it straight up off the ground pretty much? Straight up. It's almost vertical there. It's almost parallel to your back leg. If you were angling this front leg here almost towards your back hip, lifting it this way, and then coming back and landing out here, I think you generate more power. That would force you to get on your backside, force you to get in your rear leg, get in that back knee, the back knee bend, and get ready to launch forward. I know it's kind of technical, it's a little wordy, but if it's something we could focus on in the next time, in our next session, I think you'll see the difference in the power that you're going to generate in your load. So if we mix in that kind of adjustment as far as the positioning of, your legs in your load in the lower half, and then we also work on that balance and that timing, I think you'll see a big difference in the way the ball comes off the bat, adding a little power because your upper body's pretty clean. It's pretty smooth. Your hand path and all that stuff is pretty good. We've definitely been working on that and I'm seeing results, but we want to make sure it starts in the lower half. Hitting starts in the lower half. So let's watch it through one more time here. I'll let it play for a second. Watch the lower half here. Lock it in the lower half. It's kind of just up, down, not generating. Pick it up, put it down, put it down. I want to find that rhythm where you're loading, you're on time, and you're not being rushed. I feel like you're rushed here. I feel like you're picking it up, putting it down because the pitch is coming. Right? As you're tracking that pitch out of the pitcher's hand, 60 feet, 6 inches, right? There's a rhythm to it. It's dance. And I think that's the next step in generating timing and power in the load. All right, let me go back to the document and pull up a couple more ideas here. So with the hover and hit, with the load, are we maintaining balance for timing in our load? That goes to the rhythm thing I'm talking about, right? Not just pick it up, put it down 1 second, up, down, up, down. We want to make sure that we're building, right? As he's pitching, he's breaking his hands. The pitcher breaks his hands as the ball leaves the glove. That's usually where we start our timing, right? So it'll be a load. There's a rhythm, right? It'll be load, hit, almost like pulling the rubber band back and letting it go. Not just, 1, 2, pick it up, put it down. We want to make sure we're on time. We want to make sure we're not rushing. Sometimes I feel like you feel like you're rushing at the last minute. You're going to be late, so you just stick your foot in the ground and kind of, you're not really generating. Talking about generating, are we generating power and where are we generating the power? That goes into what I just talked about with that back knee, bending that back knee in the load and launching off the rear leg, making sure that back knee is inside that front foot as we load and then launching forward, right? Talking about the A shape we just mentioned in the lower half with that front leg, are we stretching the rubber band all the way to the max? Meaning, are we lifting up that front side, not just to lift it up and put it down, but to build into our backside load and then come down and hit, right? And hit. And that's also related to the next point, which is we need to be thinking hips, not arms, right? So if I'm playing, another clip here, and we're watching hips versus arms. Let's see which one's more, I guess, more obvious here when we play the clip. I'll let it play through. We should be thinking lower half. We should be thinking hips versus hands and upper body and arms. The hands are important, of course, but they react to the hips at first. Are we more upper body or are we more lower body here? The goal would be to get generating more power in that hip, in that lower half, and using it to launch the hands, right? In that sequence, it's front foot down, hips, and then hands. Right now, I feel like we're very concerned with the upper body. Let me pause it. I'll go back to it 1 second. And then same thing we've been talking about, thinking knob versus barrel. I'll break it down in a second, but I feel like you're worried about controlling the barrel at the last second. It says, are we altering the path of our hands and the knob to try to control the barrel? And what I mean by that is, let me pull it up again. Watch as I kind of go frame by frame here. Here's the load. Coming to get the ball. I got a little jammed up there. Let me show you another one. We want to make sure that our hands are finishing their path, right? You're not so much concerned with trying to land that barrel on the ball, trusting that the path of your hands that you chose, pulling that knob through with the bottom hand, that path is going to bring the barrel there naturally. The barrel will follow the knob. So kind of like right here. See how like your hands are coming, all of a sudden it's like, oh, let me drop the barrel on it. And then look, you kind of break your wrist right there, and the ball comes straight up off the bat. Let me go to the other clip one more time. Let's watch the same thing. Here's the load. Here comes the hands. So watch that bottom hand, right? Looks like it's leading the way right here. Here comes the knob. Here comes the knob. And all of a sudden, the barrel jumps in front, and that knob kind of gets put away, right? That knob should follow out all the way in front. Big finish, big follow through. Let's watch it one more time. Don't think barrel, think knob. Control the knob with the bottom hand. And the last point that I wanted to make, and you can also see it in this swing, is are we adjusting to different pitches? Are we trying to put the same swing on the pitch regardless of where it is? What's our approach like? Are we breaking the plate into thirds like we've been working on at 3 levels, right? Looking for weakness, cold zones, hot zones. Watch this pitch here. This looks like it stays. It's hard to see without a catcher. Yeah, it's hard to see if it's inside or outside. But you see how you don't really barrel it up. You can tell right here. You kind of get it like right above your hands before the barrel. And watching some more swings, same thing here. We can't try to put the same swing on every pitch. We want to make sure we recognize early. And here's a good job. I see you adjusting to the low pitch here. Swing right through it though. That could be a timing issue as well. Let's check the next one. Not trying to put the same swing on every pitch, adjusting to where it's pitched. So we're having trouble getting our barrel on balls right here. Something to look forward to in the next session. But I have a good video of Fernando Tatis adjusting to pitches that I want to show you in a second. There's a good shot right there. Here's a good frame. Head down, barrel on the baseball, front side lock. It's a pretty good swing right there. Good extension. You see how your wrists break right here though? Like you're swatting at the ball. I would love to see, let me draw on the screen. Here's point of contact right here. Our goal and what we aim for is to get, through this ball, extend from point of contact here, 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 all the way through, and letting that bottom hand, get it. Obviously, you can't get that far, but as far as possible before finishing up and out to the follow through. But listen, there's a lot of progress here. We really like what you're doing. A couple of videos I wanted to show you here that caught my eye. One is Christian Yelich. I love this swing. I've been using it a lot. But in regards to what we're talking about with you, watch the load, watch the hover and hit. It's not up and down, right? So watch him load right here. Watch his front side come up. Watch him pinch it in the front side right there, right? Look at the back knee bend inside that back foot, coming down forward with the front foot rather than straight down. And the whole swing is generated by the lower half. See lower half? Build, 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 build. Front foot down. Here come the hips, hips, then hands. It's a very pretty swing. One of the best in the business. One more time. All in the lower half. Lower half's the engine. Here he is again. Another shot of him. Right here. I mean, look at the position of the lower half. Look at the 90-degree bend in the back of the knee there. You can tell that all of his power, he's not the biggest guy in the world, all of his power comes from that lower half. We got to get you generating more in the lower half. And the last thing I want to show you is Tatis adjusting to different pitches. The front frame here is an up and out pitch. Great shot. Focus on the front frame, the front guy. Adjusting to a high pitch. He's not going to put the same swing on every pitch. Watch him here. Second one is to a middle in pitch. And the last one is to, I think it's a down and in pitch actually. But adjusting to different pitches using his hands, right? Pulling that knob to different spots in the zone, right? Breaking play into thirds at 3 levels. All right, so I know I'm giving you a lot. I know there's a lot of language here, a lot of things that are probably unfamiliar, but let's take this and bring it into our next session so that we could pick up from here. All right, so things we're looking for is finding our balance, our hover and hit, not just being up down with our load, right? Taking our time, bending the back knee, loading, right? Load and hit, not just load hit, right? Launching off the rear leg, whatever we do load, whatever we do generate, we're going to use it. We're not just going to build it just to do it. The A shape in the bottom half, lifting up that front leg, right? And stretching out. Stretch that rubber band all the way, not just pick up and put it down. We're going to think hips, not arms. The hips are going to be the engine. The lower half is the engine. We're going to use our knob and not worry about the barrel. Pull that knob through, let it lead the way, finish that path of the hands. The knob is going to lead the way. The barrel is going to follow through. And then in our approach, right? We're not going to put the same swing on every pitch. We're going to adjust to different pitches, okay? Any questions about this, you could email me and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Here's the information again. We really like what you're doing. A couple more tweaks and you should be ready to go for this season. We love the work you're putting in. So keep it up. And any questions, please reach out. Great job, buddy.